Hey art friends, in this lesson I'm going to show you how to draw two lovebirds. Now this lesson is more advanced, so it's meant for older kids, 13 and up, and also even adults. So I hope you're going to follow along with me. I'm going to use a pencil first, colored pencil, and also my marker paper. So we're just using regular marker paper from Canson. I love this stuff, it's really fun to use, especially when you're using markers and colored pencils. So I'm first going to draw with the colored pencil, and then on top of that we're going to color marker, and then we'll add colored pencil on top of that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope you're gonna follow along, and if I ever go too fast, remember you can always pause the video. So first we're gonna use the pencil to draw the main shapes of our two lovebirds sitting next to each other on their perch, on their little branch. So first we're gonna draw their heads. I'm gonna draw one circle, and it's okay if these lines are messy because these are just guidelines. So we're gonna use these for the main shapes, and then we're gonna draw the markers on top and kind of finalize the shapes later. And now let's draw the body for this first lovebird. And I'm kind of drawing it on the middle of the paper, but towards the left, so that we have room for our other bird. And we're gonna draw the oval shape. So we drew a circle for the head. We're gonna draw an oval shape for the body. And come down like this. I like making these lines kind of messy because then you can kind of just use your imagination and kind of squint your eyes to see if you can see the shape in there. And if you need to, you can change it and make it just the way you want it. So here's the head, here's the body, and then we can also have the branch come down like this. And this little lovebird sitting right on it. So we're gonna have the U shape for the body touching that branch. And then we're gonna bend the branch up. Now let's draw the shapes for our other lovebird. And maybe this one is touching, they always like the snuggle, right? So we're gonna draw another circle up here. And maybe this one's stretching a little bit more so it's taller. So we're gonna draw another U shape for the body coming down like this, sitting on the branch, coming back up, and connecting to that circle. Now we got the main shapes for our two birds, two lovebirds. We got the head and the body. You can already start to see it coming together. So now let's draw the beak and add some of those extra details. This one, we're gonna have the head turning a little bit away from the other one. So let's draw the top of the beak right here. Draw a U shape, or kind of an upside down U shape, a curve. Then we're gonna draw a V. We're gonna start on the left side, draw a diagonal line coming down. And they are hook bills, so they have like a little hook right at the end. So we'll draw this coming back up and then curving into the other side. So you have that little S curve for the bottom of that beak. Okay, now let's come over here and draw the other beak. We're gonna draw this one, the head turned a little bit more to the side. So we can draw a diagonal line or kind of a horizontal line coming in. And then we can draw the curve for the top of the hook bill. We're gonna draw it coming down like this. And then we'll draw it coming back up, that little hook, and then an S curve to the other side of the line. Now you can just barely see the bottom of the beak. Bottom of the mouth coming in like this, and then it goes into the feathers. We did it, we got the two beaks in there. You could maybe see just a little bit of the bottom beak on this one too. So we could add a little shape right there at the bottom. Okay, now let's draw the shape for the eyes. First, let's draw a little leaf shape. We're gonna draw it straight back from the edge of the beak. I'm gonna draw it right here, little leaf shape. And then they have a white patch that goes around their eyes. So let's draw a larger leaf shape that comes around like this. And then we're gonna go under. So some of these details I don't draw as sketchy or as messy just because I'm kind of concentrating on getting that shape just right. There we go. We got one eye. Let's draw the other eye over here. Now this one's a little more squished because we're looking straight at it. This one is more of a side view, so we're gonna draw it a little bigger. So we'll draw the inside of the eye, draw the top part, then curve around for the bottom, and then let's draw the shape on the outside. So we're just gonna repeat that same shape. Goes around, but it's bigger. We'll come underneath too. There we go, we got it. Now let's add a few more details to the body. Right here on the head, we're gonna draw it kind of curving in like this, and it's going to have a little curve in between the head and the body. Then we're going to come out, and then let's come back over here. We're going to draw the other side of the head. We're going to connect the circle into the body right here. So we could just draw through and then connect down here, and we'll come in like that. All right, now let's add their feet. Well, let's draw the bottom of the branch first. So we're going to draw another line that kind of matches that first line that we drew for the branch. Then let's draw this left foot first. We're going to draw a curve wrapping around that branch. Then we're going to start here at the bottom, and we'll draw another curve coming up for the other side of the toe. And then let's draw another toe right next to it, but we're going to draw it a little smaller. So we can draw it coming down and then back up. Above this foot, we're going to draw the little feathers coming down over the leg. So we've got this little curve right here coming out of the body, and we can draw kind of zigzag lines coming under and into the belly. Okay, now let's draw that same thing over here. Let's draw the leg first on this side. We'll draw it coming down, kind of like we did here. Draw that curve. We can come under and then back into the body, and we can connect the belly into that leg. So remember to pause the video if I'm ever going too fast. Okay, now let's draw the rest of the foot. We're going to draw it coming out. So we've got the leg, and then we got the toe curving around the branch. Then we can curve back up. We'll stop there, and then let's come back down for the other toe that's a little smaller, like that. And then we can also draw it kind of wrapping around the back of the branch. So we have this branch coming in here. You got the back toe and the two front toes. Let's add little lines for the wings that are tucked behind the body. So let's add this little curve that comes down like this, and then it's going to come back up, and we can show the body right here coming in. Let's do the same thing on this side. We can draw the little wing coming out like this and then tucking behind the leg. Now we could also show the little tail sticking out the bottom. We'll come down and come back up, down, and then connect to the branch. So it's really small, and then kind of has maybe, you could draw a little upside down V in the middle. We finished the main details on this bird. Let's jump over and finish this one. Right here, let's draw the little forehead coming out of the beak. We're going to come up and around, over the eye. Then we're going to come down, and we're going to connect the head into the body. So we've got this little line that connects, and then we're going to come over here and draw the neck coming down from the beak. And we're going to come inside of this the original shape that we made. So we're going to come in like this, and then we'll come back out and then connect. There we go. This head is a lot more stretched. This one is reaching over to give the other one a big hug. Okay, now let's draw the wing. We're going to draw the wing coming out a little further like this, and then we're going to curve back in. Don't worry about making your drawing look exactly like mine. In fact, I hope it's looking a little different, because the most important thing is to have fun and to practice. I'm going to draw the other side of this, the head coming in like this and connecting to the beak. So see, I'm even changing a few things since I didn't really like how this was looking. It almost looked like there wasn't this side of the head coming in. So I added this extra little curve right here because I just wanted to change it, make it look a little different. And you can do the same thing. If something is looking different on yours, you can change it, make it look different. All right, let's keep going. Now we're going to add the legs down here. So we're going to draw the feathers that cover the legs here. Then we can draw zigzags that kind of come in. I'm also drawing dark so that this shows up on the camera a little easier or better. But you guys at home can also press lighter so that it doesn't show up as dark, because we're going to cover these pencil lines up with our markers. Okay, so we got the belly line right here in between the legs. Got this little curve. Then we got these zigzags for the bottom of the feathers. And then we got these curves coming up for the legs. Then right here, we're going to imagine this going behind the bird, the other one, and then connecting down here. This is the wing on the other side. All right, now let's draw the toes for this one. We're gonna draw the curve coming around the branch, back up. Now we're gonna come back down, make a smaller toe, and then we can just draw the other toe that's coming behind the branch. Now let's draw the other toes, and we're gonna draw them going the other way, bending the other direction. We'll curve down like this, and back up, back down for a smaller toe, back up, and then let's draw a little curve for the other side, or the back toe that's wrapping behind the branch. Let's add also the little tail sticking out the bottom of the branch. It's behind the branch, coming down. They have kind of these shorter tails. There we go. We did it. Now we're ready to switch from our pencil to our markers. I'm using biannual markers, but you can use any alcohol-based marker. This is really fun to color with because you can color in large shapes quickly. The first color I'm going to use is this yellow color, or Y107, and it's just straight yellow. I'm going to use this to color in the entire bird, even the green parts and the red parts, except for the beak and the eyes. This part I'll fast forward just because I'm covering in the main shape. So remember to pause the video, take extra time to color in your drawings also. There we go, we got it all colored in. And one of the reasons why I chose to use yellow first and color the entire bird is because you can see the yellow kind of coming through even on the red parts and also on the green parts. Now you can color your birds two different ways. The one on the left I colored in solid, so it looks flat. And the one on the right, I added a little texture so that you can see what kind of looks like feather texture in there, but you can do it a little messy and leave some of those white parts of the paper coming through. It looks cool both ways. Now I'm gonna switch to my red marker. I'm using R105, and this is kind of a lighter red. So we're gonna start with this first. We're gonna color in the left side. First, we're gonna color it right up to the beak. And we're gonna color all the way across the top of the forehead and then also down. And then right here underneath the beak, I'm gonna add this little maybe texture color right here and just kind of add a little zigzag line to make it look more like feathers coming up to the cheek of this bird. And then we can color in the rest solid. Now on the left side, I'm gonna add a little texture too. We're gonna come down like this and just add a little patch of red coming down. We're gonna blend this a little more later with our orange marker. But let's leave it like that for now. Let's come over and let's add the red, this same red, over to the bird on the right. So we're gonna do the same thing, color, start here on top of the beak. We're gonna color over the forehead, but let's come down here, we'll add this little texture line for the feathers coming this way, and then we're gonna come up the back or the cheek and connect to the back of the head. There we go, we got it. Okay, now let's switch to our green marker. I'm gonna use this color, G503, it's a light green. We're gonna start on the wing over here on the left side. We're gonna color down the wing. This is where you can really see how that yellow changes the green and kind of turns it more into a yellow green. So we're gonna come down, let's create a texture line with feathers coming across the belly like this, all the way over to the other side and up the wing on the right. Then I'm also gonna color in the tail down here at the bottom. We're gonna color this in solid. A nice thing about markers too, these alcohol-based markers, you can wait till they dry. So you can wait till this layer dries, and then you can come back in and add another layer. So right here in the middle, between the two legs, there's a little shadow. You can add that shadow there. You can also add a little shadow under the wing over here on the left. And maybe this little shadow right here, because it's next to this other lovebird, so it's darker here on the right side. We can also add a darker shadow underneath the belly here, and then also on the tail. Okay, now let's add the green over here on the right side. On the right bird, I'm gonna add it over here on the wing. I'm gonna come behind the bird, down here, and then let's also create that feather texture line across the belly. It kind of makes this U shape, just like we did over here. Remember to pause the video, take extra time to color in your birds. They're looking so much better all colored in. This is my favorite part. I love the drawing part. It is a lot of fun getting the shapes just right. But then when you start adding color, that's when they start coming to life and really look fun. Now let's switch to our gray color. This is a cool gray, CG03. So this is a light gray. I'm gonna use this to color in the feet. And we're just gonna color it in solid. Both toes on each foot, and then also the top of the foot and the toe that goes behind the branch. We'll just color it in solid, and we'll do the same thing on the right side. Now let's use a light brown Y611 to color in the branch. I'm gonna add a texture to the branch also, and we can curve the texture so it looks more 3D. Let's start over here on the right side, and see how I'm using the chisel part, but also curving when I color it in so that the branch looks more round. Then when I come over to here in the middle, I'm gonna switch and curve it the same way as the foot on this side to kind of match that. And then we'll come over to the other side, add those kind of curved texture lines. I'm also coloring the bottom side of the branch and leaving little white parts of the paper shining through on the top part of the branch to look like a highlight. So I come down on the bottom of the branch all the way to the bottom and fill it in so there's no white at the very bottom of the branch. But then on the top you can leave these little patches of white from the paper to make it look more like a highlight, to make the branch look more 3D. There we go. Now let's switch to our darker red for the beak. The beak is really red. So we're gonna start with this red, R107, and this might not show up very different on the camera. We might have to add an extra layer. So we'll color this in first. And the top of the beak, I'm gonna leave white. So right where it goes into the feathers, I'm gonna leave that white. And maybe a little highlight that comes down the middle of the beak. And then we'll color in the rest. Just like that. Then we can do the same thing over here on this side. Color in, color the edge of the beak coming down to the hook. And then we can leave a little highlight maybe coming down the middle, and then a little highlight or white part of the beak just before it goes into the feathers. Then we'll color in the bottom of the beak too. Now let's switch to our black marker. I'm going to use the fine tip so that we can really get in and color in the eyes. It's a little more detailed and smaller area, so I'm going to switch to that fine tip part of the marker. And you can also leave a little highlight if you want to on the eye to make it look more shiny, and then color in the rest black. Next, I'm going to switch back to my green marker. We're going to add a dark spot to the top of each lovebird's head. Then we're going to layer the green on top. This might make it look more brown. We're going to try it first and see what happens. So we're going to color this part right above the forehead, or on top of the head. We're going to leave a little red right here between the top of the head and the beak. Then we're going to come across and then connect to the top of the eye. And then we'll color in the top of the head. We're gonna leave some of that red shining through or coming through the green. to add a little extra texture to our bird. I'm gonna add a little shadow or a little green spot here on the side. Also add a little shadow here on the other side. And then let's do the same thing on the right bird. I'm gonna start here, the little texture lines coming over and then connecting to the eye. And then we can fill in the rest of it. Leave some of the red poking through so that it gives it that feather texture. And then we'll come to the back of the head, fill in the rest. Starting to look more realistic, like our little lovebirds are coming to life. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna add a little shadow maybe on the bottom of this beak here. You could add a little shadow in the corner, just like we did on this side. Next, I'm gonna use Y503. This is an orange color. I'm gonna add a little orange right here, blending the red into the yellow a little softer. So I'm gonna come through here and just add a little layer underneath the red. And then we can do the same thing on the right side. Just blend that in and make it softer. Now I'm going to use a darker green G406 to add more shading. Also adds a little shadow too. So I'm going to do this on each wing. Right here on this side too. Maybe a little bit up on the shoulder. And then over here on this side. And maybe a shadow right here where the wing, you can kind of see underneath the wing on this side. Also add a shadow right here underneath the belly. And be sure to color in the underside of the tail. This will make it look more 3D too, because this is the shadow or the darker side of the tail. So we'll do the same thing on this side. Next I'm going to use WG09. This is a warm gray, a dark warm gray, to add the talons at the very end of each toe. I'm going to color in this dark, just a little triangle shape at the bottom of each toe. Also use a darker brown Y529 to add a little more shading to the bottom of our branch. So I'm going to create that same round kind of texture that we did with the lighter brown, but I'm going to repeat that lower and smaller underneath the bottom. And we can also add different texture lines. Maybe have skinnier texture lines that come up high. You can also add a little shadow underneath the toes right here. And I'm going to add a little shadow line underneath this foot too. So we can come across, add that. And then maybe on this side, underneath the bird here, this is darker too, because it's sitting on the branch. So I'm going to draw a little more texture lines here. And then we'll do the same thing coming across over to the bird on the right and underneath the toes. And a little shadow underneath the belly too, right here. We've got all of the colors blocked in with the markers and it looks really cool even just like this. You could leave it, but I think if we go back over it and we add more texture lines and some contrast with our colored pencils on top of the markers, it's going to make it look even better. So we're going to use this to add even more details and to make some of these things pop a little more. Like the beaks get lost in the feathers because they're both red. So I'm using a darker red. This is called Scarlet Lake, and it's also a Prismacolor colored pencil, but you could use any colored pencil on top of your markers. This actually might not be dark enough. So we'll start with this and then maybe we'll get a darker color too. So I'm gonna go back in and trace over where that S-curve was for the bottom of the hook beak, and maybe add a little darker line on the right or the left side of the beak too. You can also add a little shadow underneath the feathers, coming around like this. And I'm also going to color in the bottom of the beak. The bottom part of the beak, like that. There we go. That adds a little more contrast. Makes it show up a little better. So I'm going to add also a shadow kind of coming right down the middle of the beak to make it look more 3D. Oh, let's switch to our white colored pencil. And I'm going to bring this highlight. This is really cool. I love using the white colored pencil on top of the marker because you can add the highlight back in. So see how that white comes back in and it makes it look like the left side of the beak is shinier. We could do the same thing here. I'm going to bring this little highlight down the beak a little bit further. I want to add a little highlight on top of our birds too. So even though this is dark up here, the light is shining down from the top. We can add a little highlight on top of our bird's head to make it look more round. I'm going to do the same thing up here. Okay, I have a darker red now. This one's called Crimson Lake, and we're going to use this one to add even more contrast. So see how that's even a lot darker now. So this one is called Crimson Lake. You could even just use a black colored pencil to add this extra contrast to make it look more 3D and make the beak stand out from the feathers. Maybe I'll do that too. I'm going to add some black in here too. Also, you could come in here and add a little shadow on the side of the head to make it look more 3D. Make the bird's head look more round right here. We could also add that little shadow underneath the beak coming across and under the feathers. I'm going to also blend in the little forehead line too to make that look softer. So you can go across there and make it softer and blend into the body a little better. Ooh, and the same thing over here on this side too. So I'm going to go back over and just pressing lightly. And you can blend in that dark shadow or the darker feathers into the cheek a little further down the body. This next part will fast forward even more. I'm just going to repeat those same steps that we did for this bird over here on the right side. The very last step we're going to do is switch to the black colored pencil. And we're going to use this to just add even more contrast here in the beak and add a few more shadows maybe around our bird, under the wings. I'm going to add it right here underneath the mouth, and we can also add it over here on the left side of the beak. And then maybe down here underneath the wing. I think one of the things that makes a drawing really exciting is the contrast. And that's where you have darks and lights working together. It also makes your drawing look a little more 3D, brings life into it, just makes it look exciting. You have some really dark darks and light areas. I'm going to add some shadows over here on the right side, underneath this wing, and also up here on the shoulder. I'm going to add a little shadow underneath the belly here. You can add more shadows on the right bird in the same area, maybe right here underneath the beak. Also maybe underneath the bottom of the beak. You can add some shading underneath the tail. And then just repeat the same shadows over here on the right bird. Underneath the belly, underneath the tail. You can also add it here underneath the wings. going back over the eyes with the white colored pencil to soften the highlight. The biannual markers come with a blending marker. It's labeled 0 or O on the cap, and one of my other favorite things to do with these markers, these blending markers, is to go back over the colored pencil with that blending marker, and it softens the texture. We did it. We finished drawing our lovebirds. They turned out so perfect. I'm sure your drawings turned out amazing too. I hope you had a lot of fun following along with me. This is a fun lesson that we used our colored pencils first to block in the shapes. Then we layered blocks of color on top, and then we added details with the colored pencils on top of the markers. So you get this really fun style with layering both markers and pencils on top of each other. It's also fun adding contrast and details with the darker pencils on top of the markers. You can even finish your drawing by adding a background. You could add even more details. You could add more texture to the branch, maybe even more feather texture to their bodies. But I'm gonna leave it just like this. I think it turned out perfect. I love drawing with you. I hope you had a lot of fun drawing with me. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new art lessons, and we'll see you later.